So Hare Krishna devotees, today we are going to see chapter 13. So what is about chapter 13 is chapter 13 is the last part of our Bhagavad Gita. We have three modules, right? First six, second six, and last six. Now what is the difference? The first six talks about Karma Yoga. How do we reach Krishna? By doing our karma, right? And the last six talks about Jnana Yoga, which means knowledge, right? How do you reach Krishna? Via knowledge. Now the middle six is the Bhakti Yoga, right? So this is direct bhakti, which talks about devotional service. So why do we need to learn these two? Because in the entire Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Yoga. These are all sub parts, right? As I always tell, Bhakti Yoga is the total. And if you have Bhakti Yoga, automatically Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are inbuilt in it. So today we are going to see our journey in our Bhakti Yoga. And before we start, our journey here, I want to tell you one thing. Yes, this one is a little heavy. So it will, you need to pay attention and also go back and read, because anything to do with Jnana gets heavy, because we are suddenly planning to start something which we should have done at a very young age, right? So we've started now. It's like ABCD and missing the LKG, UKG and directly going at an advanced level. So that is what we are doing, right? Because we read everything, but spirituality is one thing where we've never read, right? So before we start off, let's start off with Mangalachan. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanattimurandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadatikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopeshu Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vindaya Vinishwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Vancha Kalpada Rubhyascha Kritpa Sindhubhya Evacha Patidana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vachadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we will now dive into our knowledge, right? So what is it? 13th chapter talking about? It talks about nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness, right? Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Vibhaga, Yoga. Right? So the heading itself is very technical, right? So let's see what it is. If Bhakti is the culmination, why is Jnana present in the last 6 chapters? In truth, the entire Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti. The first 6 chapters discuss how to achieve Bhakti through knowledge, right? That's what we saw. Through work, karma, yoga. And the last 6 describes how to achieve through knowledge, right? So which is what we are going to see now. And the middle 6 is the Bhakti yoga itself. So the middle 6 is called Guhyam. That means most confidential knowledge. Also in the 12th chapter, we saw how Krishna will personally deliver, right? Dear to me is going on. The devotees from birth and death. So the last 6 gives us philosophical knowledge necessary to understand oneself. Why do you need philosophical knowledge here in this world? Because both material and spiritual knowledge is required. And let me tell you a simple example. When you tell someone don't drink, don't smoke, they won't understand, right? But people who have little knowledge, right? If you tell them, no, if you drink, you will have this problem. These are the issues. Then they will understand. And it's very important to understand that in Vedas, because so far we have not been given the jnana, right? We have not been given knowledge. If you see, we've always had our parents telling, don't do this, right? But why? because our children will expect that, and that is very important for us also, because when you have the knowledge, we will have the conviction by it, right? Blindly listening to someone like a spiritual master is different, but also we should understand that blindly listening for everything is not right, right? So there could be some spiritual reasons, there could be some superstitious reasons. The only way we will understand this is by understanding the Vedas, and we need to understand both simultaneously. So that is why, it's in Vidya also they say both Vidya and Avidya. Vidya talks about spiritual knowledge, and Avidya talks about knowledge which is acquired for material world, right? So that is the one. Both have to be learned simultaneously. So it goes like this: Avidyam cha vidyam cha yastadvedo bhayam saka avidyayam mrityum tirtva vidyayam mrityum ashnute. Hare Krishna. So this is from Isho Mantra, 11, which clearly says that both have to learn parallelly. So that is what it is said here also. Jnana has its use in assisting our detachment from Maya. Why? Only when you know that Maya is an external energy of Krishna, only if we have that jnana, we can detach, right? Otherwise, we won't be able to detach. We'll still be, connected. We won't know how to detach. When we use knowledge as a means to attain devotion, then that also becomes perfect, right? All of you all are reading Bhagavad Gita. It is a part of Bhakti Yoga, but what are you actually gaining? Why? You're gaining knowledge, right? So that is the most important thing. So now let's come to the hard part, right? What is Prakriti? We know it is nature. So that is what he is saying. Purusha is the enjoyer. Anyone who enjoys. So technically there is only one Purusha in the entire world. He is only Krishna, right? And Kshetra means body, Shariram. So that is called Kshetra. And what is Kshetrajna? Knowledge of the body. Right? Nya itself Jnanam, right? The observer, right? So the observer in the body is the soul and the super soul. How? I as a soul know only my body, right? But the super soul has knowledge of all the bodies, right? We'll see this. What is Niyam? What is a Niyam? What is the knowledge about it, right? It is understanding the top two, right? Understanding the body and understanding the knowledge, that is who's the observer of the body, right? So Kshetrajna, right, talks about who observes, right? The soul. Who observes? The soul and the super soul, right? Who's the observer? And Jnanam talks about understanding the top two things, which is the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna. So understanding this is called the Niyam, right? And finally, what is the sixth one? Sixth one is Jnanam, right? Jnana is what I'm talking about is knowledge, right? So understanding both Kshetra and Kshetrajna, right? So remember one thing, body is the material thing, like Panchabhuta. And what is the soul or super soul? It is what is inside us, what's pervading, right? So that's called the Kshetrajna, right? Observer, they are the two. And Jnanam is understand. Jnana means you all, as I said, is knowledge, right? So understanding these two is what is Jnana. And what is Neyam? Only thing is Paramatma. Paramatma is the Neyam, right? So that is clearly said that Neyam is Paramatma. So now we will dive in. How does this chapter open? Why are these questions? Why are these answers? As usual, the chapter opens with Arjuna asking questions. 6 questions. That is what we are going to see. And Krishna answering this. And I just thought I'll give you a glimpse of it here because, it will be easy at one shot. So we can start reading. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Arjuna said, "Oh, my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field, and the knower of the field, and of knowledge, and the end of knowledge." The blessed Lord then said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field." Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So clearly read. So what is he telling? He's telling that the body, right, is a field because where the activities are happening, right? So it's called the field. And whoever knows it is a knower. It's so clear, right? So the English term is clearer. So when we try and relate it to the Sanskrit, we feel the challenge, which if you see here, that is what he said. The body, right, is what is Kshetra, right? So that is what he is talking about. So we'll move on to 13.3. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vitti sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra nayorjnanam yattajnanam atam mama. You can read now.
Hare Krishna. O Scion of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. Knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Yeah, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So what is he saying? He's telling, oh Bharata, you should understand that I'm the knower of the bodies, right? He says clearly he's a knower. And to understand this body, right, who's the actual owner, right? The actual owner is none but the, is none but ourselves, right? So there are two people who knows the body. One is us, who's the soul, and the other one is super soul, right? And super soul is the knower of all the bodies, right? So that is what is said in this shloka. So this is like the field. Who knows the field? We all know the field, right? So that is, if it is our field, like our house, we know the field. But if you take the king is the knower of all the fields put together. Right? All fields put together, the knowledge of the entire city or the nation which is under him, the king knows. You can relate this to the soul and the super soul, right? So I know only my field. That is my body. So the soul knows only its own body. That only the little bit of the past and little bit of the present. Definitely not the future. But super soul here knows all the bodies together. So that is what he's talking about, knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. Bhagavad Gita 113.5. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what are they talking about? That knowledge of the field of activities, right? How do we get to know? As we go to school to learn alphabets and whatever, maths, physics, the knowledge is taught by whom? The knowledge is taught by the Vedas, right? And it's all in Vedic writings. And who has described this? The sages, right? So Vyasa is one such sage. So we have all these big sages who are none but incarnation of Krishna himself, who are speaking to us in the form of Vedas, right? So it is very clearly said the reason, the cause and effect, which means what is the reason, right? Analysis of all this, right? We also saw Krishna as Sarva Karna Karma. Likewise, he is giving actually what are the causes of it and what is the impact of all this. It's clearly explained in all the Vedas. So this is a very important chart, which we already have seen earlier in a different form. So what is Annamaya? Annamaya is something where food alone is important, the animalistic platform, right? I only can relate myself to food, right? Annamaya is the basic, it's a beginning, where if you see an animal, it will only be focusing on, Annam, right? In fact, I would say lower creatures of animal. Pranamaya is the next level, right? So Annamaya is the first level where you feel the body, you can relate only to the body. It's the first step, right? Anything to do with the body is what you think is world. That is the first thing. Above that is Pranamaya. You feel there is breath, you see there is life in it, right? This is the level where, your senses, right? Your senses can catch over things, right? You can understand. This is at a sensual platform. Where the sensual platform is above bodily platform, you can feel more, like your sensitivity. All that comes at the Pranamaya platform. That, you understand a little bit of concepts of Pranamaya, right? And that is little more than food, right? We are living and all that comes. Jnanamaya, Manomaya is the mind platform, Mano, right? So, Kam Mano, Buddhi, we saw, right? Mano is the mind platform. This is above the Pranamaya platform. And clearly in Jnanamaya platform, what happens? You clearly understand where your mind is about, right? Senses are there. It's like blindly a senses tells, go take alcohol, mind tells, hey, hold. And above these two, let's take the alcohol in the evening maybe, but now, so it's a mind which is working. But intelligence is above mind. Intelligence is telling, forget it, why are you even seeing alcohol? It's a very bad thought. Right? So that is basically Jnanamaya is called knowledge, right? Example, we all read, we are at Jnanamaya platform, right? I'm not the body, I'm the soul. Yet then that is intelligence, right? Vijnanamaya, practical application of Jnana. Example, okay, I'm not the body, I'm the soul, I know. But today, if I'm just going to, let's say that one of you, right? Let me just take here, devotee Girija Menon is just picking up the mic and she's shouting and she's telling, Radhika, you're so bad, you're lousy and all that. Can I take it in a very calm way? I may pretend to be calm, but inside, I'll be worried, I'll be emotional, I'll be upset, right? So can I tell that, okay, I'm not the body, I'm the soul. And whatever I'm preaching, my soul is preaching. And therefore I'll become no, right? So we have not reached the vijnana, right? So anybody shouts at it, we'll become very upset. Some way or the other. Either we get anger, we get upset, we'll shout back, we'll do something or the other. So that's the vijnana. So we need to get into that level, which wherein intelligence will dominate. One more level, like I was telling, alcohol, just throw it away. Forget it. We are getting into Krishna conscious. Don't even think, don't even give a chance for your eyes to see it. When you are able to achieve the Vijnanamaya and allow connected to science, spirituality, you get into what's called the Anandamaya, bliss, because that is eternal happiness. And that is what we call it as bliss. And we'll be very happy to reach that state. Right. So this particular chapter is actually going to take us into various things, right? 13.67. Yeah, you go ahead and read and then I'll explain. Hare Krishna, you have to unmute. Yeah.
Not noise. The 5 great elements: false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, the mind, the 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and convictions. All these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions.
Now he's asking what are the field of activities, right? So he's talking about there are 24 elements which we read. So starting with the Panjabhutam, which is a 5, right? Beyond the Panjabhutam, we have the 5 working senses, right? So typically hands, legs, your genitals, anus. So all these are working senses. Next is knowledge acquiring senses, right? Eyes, ears, nose, touch, smell. So all these are knowledge acquiring senses. And the, sense objects, right? What can eyes do? Vision. So these are the 5 sense objects: eyes, vision, speaking, taste, touch. So the feelings, right? So the sense objects. So these are the 5. So these are 20. Over and above that, you have false ego, intelligence, and the unmanifested, right? So what is this mind, false ego, unmanifested is what contributes to 24 elements. So here they're talking about the same. And what is unmanifested? Unmanifested is they are talking about are the 3 modes of nature, which is not manifested. You can't see, but it will take its form, right? Suddenly you can't see them. You can't see a mode, right? So what are the modes? Now you have to tell me. Now you all have become experts. What are the 3 modes?
Mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Right?
Hare Krishna.
These are 3 modes, right? Unmanifested. They are not. They are currently not there, but anytime they will come and attack us, right? So all this. Besides that, you have desire, hate, there's all the duality, happiness, distress, right? Life symptom is consciousness, which is the soul. All this are considered as a field of activities. How they have an impact is the interaction. So now we will see each quality in detail, right? So let's say 13.8 to 12. Hare Krishna. Amanitvam madam bhitvam ahimsa shantir ajam acharya pashanam saucham staryam atma vinigraha Indriyateshu vairagyam ahankare evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam ashaktirana vishwangaha putradaraagrahadishu nityam cha samachit Tattvam. Just 1 second. Ishtanishto patishu mai chananya yogena bhaktir avyapicharini विविक्तादेश सेवित्वम् प्रतीर्जन संशदी अध्यात्माज्ञान नित्यत्वम् तत्त्वज्ञानात् दर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानम् इति प्रोक्तम् अन्यानं यत् अथो अन्यथा. Hare Krishna. Right? So we will not, we will go directly. So these are the various qualities, right? And amanitvam is humility. According to us, what is humility? Right? According to us, humility is being like someone very, calm and down to earth, right? But here, let's see the Vedic explanation. Not to be anxious, to have satisfaction, to be honored. So this is something which we always look forward. We need that honor, we expect that. So not to be anxious. Pridelessness is called Adam Vitvam. So it means understanding you're not the body, which we already have, right? And that means you should not really react to honor or dishonor. I just told, if somebody is going to yell at me, right, Prabhuji or Mataji, I should not react. But is that the situation? No. And we are also proud, right? We say that I'm very sensitive. I am someone, I just can't tolerate. We take pride. Why? Because we have not read the Vedas. So we feel, that being reactive or being sensitive is a very good USP and we are very proud of it. Right? We don't even feel bad because we feel that is a prerequisite, right? We call it more in the form of self-pride. And now coming to non-violence, right? Our understanding of ahimsa is what? We will not do harm to others. But even thinking harm to others is bad. And also thinking harm to ourselves is bad. Now you will come and tell me, no, Radhika Mataji, I have not thought of harm to myself, never, I never have thought of suiciding thought. Agreed. But that is not what physically I'm talking about. So even when you do anything devotionally where you hurt your body, you're doing himself. That is not the one I'm talking. I'm talking about the parrot, right? We are taking care of the golden cage, which is the body. But the parrot is a soul. So if you don't give Krishna to the soul, we are doing ahimsa, right? You're being the killer of the soul, right? So that is what you are doing. It's called Atmaha, right? So you're actually called the killer of the soul. You should not be a killer. So that's why the soul needs Krishna. And that is what we need to give. That is also coming under the category of non-violence. Now tolerance, you all know, it starts off with 2.14 where Krishna tells, right, to Arjuna, Hare Krishna, Matra Svastastu Kaunteya Sitoshni Sukha Dukkadaha Agama Paino Anityas Namstiga Shashva Bharata. Hare Krishna. So what does he say? Tolerate, right? Oh my God, tolerate, Arjuna. He tells this twice and he starts off with the second chapter. So why is this coming? Because it is important that you practice to bear the insult and dishonor to others. You should get used to it, right? That is tolerance. But whereas we start being so reactive, so sensitive, simplicity is not about wearing simplicity is arjavam. It's not wearing a simple dress. I like to wear only, very light clothes. No. Simplicity is so straightforward that you can tell a truth even to your enemy. Can you just give me an example of simplicity? Anyone can give me an example of simplicity? Any one person in the past? Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is so simple, right? He can just tell the truth to anyone. Harichandra, right? We are people who don't have to lie. They will tell, on the face of it. So that's called simplicity. That is why I say the Shastric meaning we have to understand, right? We will not have our own meaning, from Oxford Dictionary, but our Vedic dictionary meaning is a little different. So we have to go by that. Accepting spiritual master, right? So Acharya Upashayanam. This is very important, right? That's why it said it's very essential because we need to accept a spiritual master because spiritual master is our representative. Cleanliness, it's called Saucham, right? Saucham means two things. Bathing we all do external, but do we do chanting? Because just like how bathing is important, chanting is for cleansing us internally. So that's also important. Steadiness, Stairyam, right? So what does it mean? Determined to make progress in spiritual life. So you are so steady, right? So you had huge set of people registered, right? Like roughly 200 of them registered in the adult at 9:30. So how many of them actually came on the first day? Hardly 10%, right? Currently remaining. Of course, first day few came, but now you have really very less coming up, right? So why is all this happening? It's because that steadiness is not there. You can have the devotion. That's why people registered. But when do they come to class, the number falls significant, right? Self-control, Atma Vinigraha. Reject anything unfavorable to spiritual advancement. Control the senses, right? So he's telling that, anything related to, anything unfavorable to spiritual thing, right? You have to control. You should not, you should reject. Example, you'll have so many things, right? For example, you say that your friends go out, they're going to talk about some things which are very abominable. You don't want to do it. Just don't go with it, right? So that's called self-control. Renunciation of sense objects. Indriya artenu vairagyam. So unnecessary demands of the body, right? Anything which is leading to self-gratification, focusing on the body, right, is a stopper for the devotional service. So we should not bother too much about the voices within which is our mind dominating us to do sense gratification. Now, what is absence of false ego? What is ahankara means false ego, right? Absence is called anahankara. I always say A started, right? Anahankara means something which you reject that I am the body or mind. Accept that I am Krishna servant. You keep thinking I am the body, or you think my mind is a controller, right? But mind tells, hey, don't bother, don't do this. Everything the mind speaks like a friend, but it's your so-called friend. Always a so-called friend is very sweet. But we have to accept that I am a servitor of Krishna. That is very important. Perceptions of evil, right? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. Janma means birth, Mrityu means death, Jara means, old age, and Vyadi means disease. Duka, Donanu, Darchana. Right? Regularly hear from the proper source, which we already have told spiritual master, become disguised with material life. So automatically, all this material life, which has Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, automatically all this will go away the moment you start hearing. You hear from bona fide source. Now, the next few things which I'm going to tell you is something, very important, because there is a lot of difference between attachment and love. Entire Bhagavad Gita preaches you must love. There is no way it says that you should not love. You take Arjuna. Arjuna is loving till the end, everyone, right? He loves his children, he loves his wife, he loves his family, he loves his brother. Besides the fact that he loves Krishna, but I'm just saying he just loves, right? So nowhere in Bhagavad Krishna is talking about love. Krishna is willing to do anything for his devotees. He loves them, right? Then what is the difference? Why do they tell us to be detached? So he's not telling us, they are telling us also to love. But detachment is very different. Detachment means all of them were loving, but detachment is where you don't control someone, right? How will it be, your children? You tell that, hey, I'm very, I love you so much. Can you just get up, go do this? I love you so much. Can you just clean the clothes? Hey, I love you so much. Can you just milk this pot? Can you do this? Hey, I wanted to do medicine because I could not do medicine, but I love you so much. Hey, I love you so much. Medicine also, do surgery. Child is coming, no, mama, if I see blood, I'll forget it now, but I like it. I'm so attached. I love you so much. Do it. Is that nice? Isn't that bonding someone? Yes or no? Won't you feel the same? Right? So sometimes, when you're, some of my friends also tell, right? Sometimes, and many times they tell, when spouse, when they keep calling so many times, it's like nice, but it sometimes gets into too much of, oh my God, just give me a break kind of a feeling, right? So what they are telling is detachment, be ready to sacrifice everything for Krishna. It is not the person. What they are telling is prioritize Krishna, right? That should be our priority. And it's called asakti, and no entanglement with wife, children, family, etc. Spouse, right? Interchangeably. Anabin Vaiga Putra Dara Gaha Dinu. So what are they telling? Attachment, as I said, is very different from love, because attachment you try to control. For example, I will tell you once, Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, they were so attached to things initially that they wanted to control. It extended to the fact that they wanted to be attached so much to the family that they control the entire family also. Right? You saw Hiranyakashipu trying to put the child under the thing. So much he wants control. Ravana, literally kept his family, and in his fingertips. The next level is control the entire world. They want to control everybody else, somebody's wife also. Right? So that becomes the level and depth of attachment. Hence, should practice it if you can do it in Krishna conscious way, but renounce it if it's not favorable. So if you feel anything is going to trouble you so much that it is totally hampering, then there's no point in worrying or working on it. Even mindedness. Nitya cha sama chittatvam nino patinu. Hare Krishna. Sorry, so tough. Not related or distress at material gain or loss by performing unbreakable devotional service. So the mindedness, even mindedness means irrespective of whatever the situation, whether there's a material gain or thing, you do unalloyed devotional service, right? For example, today, my husband scolded me, I don't want to chant. My wife told me that you are waste. So what's the point in chanting? There's no point, right? Or I'm going through a lot of trauma, I'm sick, or evenly going through a lot of things, I've lost someone, I will just stop it for a few days, right? Those things do come. So not getting infected by that, evenly, equally, you are blessed. Finally, and last but not the least, as we always say, unalloyed devotional service, which means ananya bhakti. Engaging yourself in the 9 process of bhakti, right? 9 process of bhakti is Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, chanting, right? Vishnu Smarana, always thinking of Vishnu. Pada Sevanam, right? You saw Lakshmi, right? Example of Pada Sevanam, constantly doing that. Archanam, worship, right? And Vandanam, right? This is worship. Archana, you all know what you do. And Vandanam, you offer prayers and all that. And the last 3, you know very well. Dasyam, our great, Hanuman is an example of Dasyam. Sakyam, now anybody give me an example of Sakyam, which means friendship? Reading Bhagavad Gita, you can't miss. What is an example of Sakyam?
Friendship.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All at one time. Arjuna is an example. So Sakyam and Atma Nivedanam, Bali Maharaj, completely, fully surrendered, right? You don't have to do all the 9 processes, but you can perfect any one of them. So these are the things, but these are the various stages, right? So that is what Krishna is telling. So now let's move on to 13. Hare Krishna, you can continue reading.
Hare Krishna. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Bhagavad Gita 13.13.
Hare Krishna. So what
Hare Krishna.
he is now going to explain about Brahman, and what is this Brahman referring to? Soul, the spirit. So what is very important is in Sanskrit, we always keep telling this in French also. As if there are shortages of words, they use only few words for multiple meanings, right? So in this context, Brahman by itself has about over 11 to 13 meanings. And Brahman means here in this context, spirit soul. He is beginningless, but he is obviously subordinate to Krishna, right? It is beyond cost. Why is it cost? What happened? But it is beyond even material world, because it doesn't get stuck only at the material world. It's much higher, right? So that's what he is saying. He says that now I'm going to explain about him. This is what Krishna is telling. So let's see what he is going to explain in Shloka 13.15, right? So let's hear. Hare Krishna. Sarvendriya guna bhasham Sarvendriya vivarjitam Asaktam sarva brikchaiva Nirgunam guna bhoktircha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all modes of material nature. Hare Krishna.
So beautiful. So he's telling the super soul is the original source of all senses, right? So we all know, though it's a soul which is coming under the jurisdiction of super soul, thing, but the original source is there, right? They are all part and parcel of Krishna, right? So it says very clearly, yes, to sarvani bhutani atmanevānupashyati tatra ko moha kaha shoka ekasam anupashyati. So what does it mean? It means that if you know that you're part and parcel, and we see each as a spiritual path, we will not have any moha or kama. That is no lust or greed, right? It will be unaffected. So where are we talking about is the super soul is the original source, right? And he is unattached, right? He is not having any attachment. He is very clear, though he is a maintainer. And he is above the modes of nature, right? He is nirguna. Nirguna means no material qualities. At the same time, he is the master, right? All these modes report to him. And he is so powerful, right? So he is now talking about super soul. He first spoke about the soul. Now he is talking about the super soul. So that's what he's slowly giving knowledge of the various things, right? And now let's continue in 13.16. What is he saying? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The supreme truth exists both internally and externally, in the moving and non-moving. He is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is very beautiful, right? And there is one thing called Te Jati Tanne Jati Tadure Tadvanchike Tadantarasya Sarvasya Tadu Sarvasaya Bhayataha, which means that Tade Jati. Jati means walk. He can walk, he cannot walk. Right? He is far, he is right? So he's inside, he's outside. Oh my God, so many contradictions. How can that be? Right? Is it possible? I'm talking to you. Can I talk to you here also? Can I be elsewhere also? Not possible, right? So all these seem to be contradiction for asuras, for the non-devotees, but for the devotees, these are wonders, right? There's some beautiful chapter in Krishna book called Wonderful Krishna, right? Because these are potencies which we can't put it within our head. What we do is we want to lock Krishna in our head, right? Which is not possible because he is inside also in the form of Paramatma, but he's there in Goloka Vrindavan. Akshara means he's moving. Hare Krishna, sorry. So he is talking about these inside moving, Shara, Akshara, right? Moving, non-moving. Whether it's a tree, he's there. Non-living thing, non-thing also he's there. So it is all his energies, right? And he is beyond the power of material senses. I told you, we can't comprehend because we have, we can't put our Krishna and lock within our material vision, right? That is why Krishna gave Arjuna himself, right? Arjuna is so elevated. To him itself, he gave, special glasses, right? Special vision. And so is for Sanjaya, Divya Drishti. Although far, far away, he is also near to all, right? He's very far, like extraordinarily far, right? But then he is also near, right? Because you see, he's close to us by heart. He's sitting in Goloka. Everywhere he is there, right? So that is the quality of Krishna. So slowly he's explaining the qualities of him. And also, what does this say? So this is what he's saying. Can you see? This is a beautiful story. He's inside also out. From this picture, do you remember any story? Can you relate to anything? Yeah. So basically here, Krishna was the size of the thumb.
The baby.
Paramatma. Sorry, I'm waiting. Who's this baby? Of course, all babies have Krishna, but specifically, so this is Parikshit Maharaj, right? When he was in the womb and, Ashwatthama attacked him with Brahmastra. Sorry, yeah. So that time what happened is, Krishna from outside, right? He was outside. He was outside also, he didn't disappear. And the Krishna Paramatma 400 form inside was in the size of the thumb. He went and fought for Parikshit, right? So that is what is a specialty. So he's outside also, inside also. Both was happening and everybody could see Krishna. It's not that he disappeared there. And also he's in Goloka Vrindavan. So multitude, right? So that is the specialty of Krishna. Let's hear what he has to say in 13.18. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, 13.18. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Hare Krishna.
So beautiful, right? He says he's a source of light, whether in the objects, right? Or luminous objects are things like sun, moon, where it's very bright. And he's beyond darkness, which means actually there is a beautiful video. What do you mean by what do you mean by darkness, right? So Einstein, when he was very small, says that darkness is absence of light. It's a German video. So when one of the days we played, and he is knowledge, right? He's the object of knowledge, right? So he says he's only knowledge. He's the one who's giving the knowledge. He's the object, and he's a goal, ultimate goal, right? And where is he? He's situated in everybody's heart, right? So slowly he's introducing things. So can you see here, very beautiful, right? This is Krishna. The light is Krishna. What you see, the object is also Krishna. Can you see? The knowledge is Krishna. The object is also the thing. The goal also is Krishna. So everywhere it is you, right? Hare Krishna, you can read. You have to unmute.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thus the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature.
So beautiful. So he's telling that's a field of activities, right? That is the body and the knowable, right? and knowledge. All this, all three, right? What field of the activity? That is the body. Knowledge is what we have, jnana. And knowable, who knows it, right? We do it, right? Soul knows only its own body, and Krishna knows all the bodies. All this he has been summarized. To understand all this, we need to be devotees, right? Only they can understand it thoroughly. So that is what Krishna is telling, right? So beautifully he is explained. And let's see what he says in 13.20.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. Hare Krishna.
So he says very clearly the material nature and living entity should be understood to be beginningless. So what does it mean? Right? There is no beginning, there is no end, right? So there is absolutely this material nature, right? Whatever we are going through, there is nothing, there is no, everything is perfect. And all these transformations, right, are nothing but product of material nature. So let me just tell you something. We already saw, in the beginning, right? Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarva Karanam Anadi Adi. So he's the oldest, he's the newest, right? Same way he is, he's somebody where there was no beginning also, no end also, no middle also, right? So we have to understand material nature and the living entities also. There is no beginning. That is, if we track back the living entities, the soul, we won't know when it happened. So it has always been there. It is eternal, the spirit soul also. That transformation, right? Whatever has happened, all this body, whatever happened, and all these modes which have come, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, all of them, these are all products of material nature, right? Because these modes operate only in the material nature. It is not there, right? So it is not there in the spiritual world. So the beginning of them, we don't know. The transformation of these modes are only applicable to the material nature. So therefore, they are not applicable to the spiritual nature. So let's hear more, you will understand better. Hare Krishna. Karya karana kartritvaye hetu prakritir uchyate purusha shuka dukkhana bhuktartve hetu ruchyati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nature is said to be the cause of all material activities and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. Hare Krishna.
So very clearly, what are they saying? They're saying nature, right? Nature is said to be the cause of all material activity, right? So you are having the nature, right? So that is the reason for the material activities to cause, right? Otherwise, you will not have them. Their effects, whatever are the outcomes. Whereas living entity is the cause of the sufferings, right? So what happened? We want to enjoy. We already read, if you do good activities, pious activity, we go to Swarga. Once the credit is over, we have to come back. And if you do bad activities, we will go to Naraka. Again, once you finish your imprisonment and suffering, you will come back, right? So all these are because of the suffering, because of our interest for self-gratification. I want to enjoy, I want to suffer. No, let's become akarmic, right? Good or bad, let's give it to Krishna, right? That way we will feel more enlightened and we will move from all this karma and vikarma and get into what is called akarma, Krishna consciousness, right? To break this of birth and death. Hare Krishna. Purusha prakritesto hi bhunte prakriti jangunan karanam guna sangosha sadasadyoni janmasu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil amongst various species. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what is he saying? The living entity in this material nature, right? Has us, it is enjoying the three modes of nature. We are thinking, Hare, what is this? No, but we are enjoying because sometimes we are passionate, right? We want to, like, even driving, we want to drive fast. What does it represent? Mode of passion, right? So we enjoy that, right? We think it is fun. So living entity here, so we believe our way of life is what is fun and enjoyment, right? So we are enjoying the three modes, and three modes are given to us based on the level and degree we want to enjoy in that. So why do we take a very spicy food? Eyes are watering, right? You can't even breathe, you can't even do anything. But why do? Because we believe there is some enjoyment in that. Yes or no, right? This is only due to our association with material nature. Because of we being here, only we are feeling. Why? Because there is some effect of the good and the bad of the evil, which is taking us. Thus, he means good and evil among various species, right? Every species, you take everything, right? Why the cow wants to drink milk, whereas the lion wants to eat? It's a Paramatma which is present. So all these are pen picture of the 84 lakh species, and depending upon what you want, these are stencils which are kept by Brahma. And he feels, okay, you have these qualities A, B, C, D, C, D, and you have these things, then you fit in. I'll tell you an example, right? So let's assume that you want to be with the family. You're so desperate. This is the family, and you want to be in the kingdom, right? You want to be one of the rich princes, next. And you want your family also there, and you want, look at the combination. So many are coming, right? And all this, but you do not have so much credits for all this, right? You have only so much credits. So Krishna always satisfies the desire. So therefore, you will be in the kingdom. Okay, fine. Now, depending upon your credits, he will decide whether your family also can come there, working class or whatever, depending on their respective credits, not just your desire, right? They will all be there in the kingdom. Now, depending on your credit, you may be born as a princess also, or you may be born as a cat also, right? Or you may be born as a cockroach also. So the kingdom is given. So what body fits you is your karma, right? So you're based on your desire. So the stencil is already made by Brahma. Okay, you want, agreed, you have credits, I give you the kingdom. Okay, you have credits. Okay, agreed, your family also has so much credit, so different place they can be there. Now, where do you fit? Okay, you deserve to be princess. Okay, go, because you've done pious activity. No, you have not done pious activities. You've done very animalistic karma. Then you deserve to be a cat or a dog, or even worse, or maybe worst case, you can land up to be even a worm in the stool, right? So can you say your wish is fulfilled being there? No. Yes, both, right? Yes and a no. So this is what it is. So karma decides on the type of body and based on Upadashtanumantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehismin Purashah Paraha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. Hare Krishna.
So we told everybody, right? You can be princess, you can be cat, you can be, you can be a cockroach, or you can be even a, worm in the stool. But who's there along with that? You're taking chi for yourself, but look at the inside the chi also, the super soul is there, right? Supreme proprietor. Isha Vashimidam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagat Yam Jagat Tena Tiktena Bunjita Magritaha Kashyas Viddanam. Hare Krishna, what does it mean? Isha Vasha. Isha means Ishvara, right? So he is the supreme proprietor. We also said, read in 6th chapter, right? So we really read there. What does it mean? Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. What do you mean by Sarva Loka Maheshwaram? He is the proprietor of all the lokas, not just here, right? So you have to understand, he is the only enjoyer. So it's given there also. And he is permanent. He is there. He oversees. He overseer and permitter, right? He permits because he keeps speaking to you. Only if he allows you, you can do that activity, right? But he doesn't control because he is. You already told him, I don't like you, and that's why you come here. But he loves you so much. That's why he's coming as Paramatma and sitting in your heart, right? But he oversees. But if he becomes the controller, then you will become a robot, right? So he doesn't give anything to control you. He also gives you the modes because based on the mode, you want 4 cars, then he's giving you mode of passion. Yes, go ahead, enjoy. And who is also known as a super soul, right? He's the super soul. Who is Paramatma? Hare Krishna. 13.24.
Hare Krishna. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, so beautiful. He says, whoever understands this philosophy about the material, right, nature, that this is external energy. Maya is external energy, so you can't fight it independently. And the interaction of the modes. Why interaction? We are going to read a lot of more modes, right? How they will do. Be sure to attain the liberation because you've understood, right? So you will not take birth here, regardless of whatever you are, right? Whether you're rich here, beautiful here, ugly here, you're poor, doesn't matter. Irrespective, there is no qualification for bhakti except bhakti itself, right? So can anyone tell what is who's in the picture?
Sukadev Goswami.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj.
Parikshit.
Yeah. That is what is very clearly said. And what does he say in 13.25?
13.25, Hare Krishna. Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. Bhagavad Gita 13.25, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So they're asking, how do you perceive super soul, right? He says some perceive super soul themselves, within themselves, right? So some of them do within their own self through meditation. So that is what we saw, right? Ashtanga Yoga Dhyani is what do they meditate on? The Paramatma, where they see Paramatma is the end, right? So that's the target, right? They start with that. Others through cultivation of knowledge, which is Jnana Yoga. We read this, right? Jnanis, what are Jnanis? They cultivate knowledge. And still others through working through without fruitive desire, which is Karma Yogi, right? We read yesterday, Nishkama Karma, which means that we will, Phalam Tyaga, right? You will sacrifice the fruits. So we are talking about Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, and Ashtanga Yogi, right? So these are the various ways in which they will approach Krishna. All roads. So this is the same thing. The super soul is perceived by some through meditation. The same thing. So what are they telling? How you can achieve, right? And what is the qualification, right? So basically, you can try through any means to achieve Krishna. 13.26, he continues. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Hare Krishna.
So beautifully they're telling, hey, I have done so much of studies, but I have not had spiritual knowledge. Most of the time we feel that, right? So I've not been given this knowledge from childhood. Okay, fine. Okay, now I don't even have material knowledge. I don't know to even read ABCD. What can I do? How will I even read the Vedas? No problem. Begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing. Shravanam, I told you, right? 9 stages, 9 processes of devotion starts with Shravanam. That is why Krishna throughout Bhagavad Gita says Shrunu. Shrinu means hear, right? And you hear from bona fide authority. That is good enough because you can break path of birth and death. Can anyone tell who the this Prabhu is and who is
Devahuti and Kapila Muni.
Thank you so much. Yes, Hare Krishna. So Devahuti is hearing from her son Kapila Muni, and he is explaining very clearly about all this to his mother from Sankhya philosophy and not about everything. So even by listening that way, she can get knowledge. And why are they talking about women? Those days, women never used to go to Gurukul, right? So their chances of understanding Veda is also difficult unless they have to hear from some source. So that is what they are saying. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. 13.27. O chief of the Bharatas, whatever you see in existence, both moving and unmoving, is only the combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Hare Krishna.
So Hare Krishna. So they are clearly telling chief of Bharatas. Whom is he telling? Arjuna. Because he's from that Bharata dynasty, Bharata Rishabha, right? From that dynasty, right? So that's why our world was called Bharat Vansh. Whatever you see in existence, right? Both moving and that we already saw, right? It's a combination of whatever you saw moving or things, a combination of field of activities. We already saw body is a field. And all these activities, we saw so many activities, right? It's just a combination of one of them. Whatever we see, whether it's living or non-living, it's just a combination of that is what he is saying. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyatsva vinasyantam yapashyati sapashyati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul is ever destroyed actually sees. Hare Krishna.
Somebody who can see, right? It's going to come in the next sloka also. The same thing we have, seen, about the quality, right? In the 5th Vidya Vidya Sampanne Gramineste Suni Astini Suni Chaivas Papa Keva Pandita Samadarshina. So what does it say? Somebody who's a Pandita is someone who's a Uttamadhikari. I already told Mahabharata, Bhagavata, elevated, Sthita Pragya. All this commonly used language for someone who is self-realized is whom, right? is somebody who can see Paramatma in every living entity. I'm telling living, which means not just rich and poor, I treat the driver equally. No, every living entity, which can include a dog, a cat, a camel, a man-eater, elephant, everyone he treats with equal vision is what it said in 5th chapter. And he is saying that such a person who understands this, that he's neither the soul nor the super. Yeah, he treats everyone. Actually sees what, and we'll go ahead with the next one. You'll be able to relate more to what I'm saying.
That
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. One who sees the super soul in every living being and equal everywhere does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus, he approaches the transcendental destination. Hare
Well, what
Krishna.
is this transcendental destination? What is a transcendental destination? You have to tell me. He says transcendental destination. What is this destination?
Lotus feet of
Vaikuntha.
Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So destination is Vaikuntha. Yes. Goloka Vrindavan,
Vaikuntha.
highest planet in Vaikuntha, and your answer is perfect. Lotus feet of Krishna. Right. So we will reach there. See, the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all the bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul is ever destroyed, right? Because both are eternal and it is permanent. Is this in everybody's heart? Is a Sitadir Muni. And for Sitadir Muni, this is not the case. So when we become that, we will go there to Goloka Vrindavan. And that is the goal of life, right? That's the goal of life. So remember, what is the goal of life? Not, and we keep thinking, what is the goal of life? Buying a car next month. No, that is objective, one of the objects of life, but that's not the goal of life, right? No, if my children are studying and they settle, that's fine. What is settling? That's not the goal of life. Do we teach our children spiritual education, right? That is our goal of life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. 13.30. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One who sees that all activities are performed by the body, right? So he says that everything is performed only by the body. So you know that, right? So everything he sees, body is the one who's a doer. So we already see this, right? He's just actual doer is body. So I'm shouting, I'm doing, I'm working, I'm going, I'm getting up, I'm doing everything. Is all just the body. Okay, and what is who's creating? It's Panjabhuta. We saw, right? Earth, water, air, ether, and fire, right? So Panjabhutas are made. Okay, and sees that self does nothing. Self in the sense here soul. Okay, self does nothing. Actually, it's the real self, because he says that body is just like a machine, right? You just get up, you wipe the car, that is a bath. Then you put fuel, so that's a food, right? And the vehicle goes, right? So like that, we are going in this vehicle called the body. And what is the vehicle given to us now? Human form, right? And we have so many vehicles. How many vehicles are there totally? How many vehicle types are there in this in this material world? Anybody can tell me, right? Can any guess how many types of vehicles are there? 84 lakh. That is the vehicle, right? Depending on that, we get the body. So 84 lakh species are nothing but 84 lakh thing. And if you see that, then what happens? He actually is a real thing, right? So he sees this body is separate, right? It's just a vehicle. And he sees self. Self does nothing, right? The soul is not doing anything. It's only the body which is doing. I want nice food. Is the soul asking food? No. The body and the tongue is asking. Yes or no? So that is the one who is. So we're just trying to get the qualities of the Muni. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Oh, it's here. Sorry. 13.33. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul, situated in a Brahman vision, does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very beautiful, right? So what does it say? The sky, right, is having a very subtle nature, right? It doesn't mix with anything. Why? Now, can you see this line is called the horizon, the meeting point of the sun, the sky and the sea, but it looks like it's mixed. It looks as if they both are merging, but they don't. Similarly, the soul, which is situated, right, it does not mix with the body. It says aloof. You have a feeling it is mixed. It is just existing there, but it doesn't mix, right? So that is what it is. So that is what he is trying to explain about the soul. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Beautifully saying, oh son of Bharata, the sun alone illuminates the entire universe, right? So we all know that sun is the only illuminating universe. But likewise, the living entity, okay, which is inside the body, illuminates the entire body, right? Because conscience is the symptom of the soul. How do we know that the soul is present, right? Even scientifically, they say RBC is generated from the heart. So red blood, copper cells. So the symptom of the presence of the soul is nothing but consciousness. We are life. That life force is nothing but the consciousness, right? So that is what they are saying. So the living entity, one within the body, illuminates the entire body. So what is that? The life force, the consciousness is the one, just like the sun illuminates the universe, the consciousness illuminates. Because if the consciousness leaves the body, we are called body, right? And we don't. The body is gone, we are telling. But the body is there, na? The person is dead, does the body disappear? No. We may burn it, bury it, give it to vultures. That's all later. But the body you can see. So what is gone?
The soul.
Passed away. Exactly. Passed away. Who passed away? So indirectly, you know that's a soul. Right? So person which is left is the soul. You don't hold on. Why do we call somebody, you know, who wants to preserve the body? We've heard of some people, you know, exceptionally who preserve the body and keep, and wow, why we feel they are mad? Because they are actually holding on only to a body. But the actual relationship they had with the soul, right? That soul is a life force, is not there. So what's the point? They're just trying to, it's like holding the dress. It can give you a memory, but you're not holding on to the person. You understand what I'm saying?
Hare Krishna. One who knowingly sees this difference between the body and the owner of the body and can understand the process of liberation from this bondage also attains to the supreme goal. Hare Krishna.
So very clearly it says that one who sees the difference between the body and the owner of the body, right? So I'm the body car, and who's the owner? So basically, I'll tell you the example of your house, right? You're going and staying in a tenant as a tenant. You're not the owner, but you're almost the owner because you're paying rent and all that. So you have the liberty to, you know, clean the house. You have the liberty to put sofa, TV, fridge, wherever you want. Your option, because you are paying rent, right? However, can you pin a nail? You might have to think. Can you repaint it? Can you redo the entire house? Can you just break a wall? No. Yes or no? Can you do it? No, right? Because you are a tenant, which means that you're a temporary owner, but you're not permanent. Same way, the owner of the body is actually not us, right? We are borrowed from Krishna so that we can reach him. And you can understand this process of liberation because but we are bonded to this temporary body. We're not able to attain the goal, right? So we have to understand the difference between the body and who the actual owner is. Because once we know the actual owner, we will know our limits. Today we don't know. We start thinking we are the owner and we are dancing to the tunes, right? So this is what is brings us to the end of the 13th chapter. Very heavy, I know. Just to give a quick thing, why did this chapter come? You know, if it's very heavy, please go and blame Arjuna because he's only asked these questions. So what are the questions Arjuna is asking? Description of Kshetra and Kshetrajna and Jnana, right? So these are the things which he's asking. So Krishna says Kshetra, right, is the body. Kshetrajna and Jnana are the knowledge of the thing, right? He explains this very clearly. And process of acquiring knowledge, he says the process of acquiring knowledge is through nothing but your own, right? What are the means of process? We always saw, right? Main process is Shravanam, right? Hearing, and from a bona fide source. Name is the object of knowledge, right? And you know that very clearly is mentioned. And Prakriti is nature, material nature with three modes, especially given by Krishna to us for us to enjoy because we want it. And who's Purusha? Purusha is the enjoyer. Who's the actual Purusha? Krishna is the Purusha. And union is the integration of both, right? And what is the vision of knowledge? When you see everyone in equal vision, right? Understanding Kshetra, Kshetrajna, right? All within equal vision, right? Sama Darshinaha, right? Equally. That is the actual vision. And if you have that vision, what happens? Fine, you know. Jnana Chakshu means vision of knowledge. Chakshu means eyes. When you see with the vision of, you know, with the knowledge, right? Jnana Chakshu means when you see through the knowledge of vision or vision of knowledge, that is called Jnana Chakshu. So you will reach your eternal destination. It's very clearly told. So finally, we are knowers, right? We are the knowers of the field, our body. Krishna is a knower of all the fields, right? So that is the plural, right? So he takes care of everything. So this is what this chapter is. And with this, you know, I think it's a very long chapter. So it took me 1 hour, 5 minutes, right? Hare Krishna. So any other doubts? Yes, Devotee Kirti, please go ahead.
All right. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. I have multiple, but I'll just ask one or two. So
No, you can ask multiple. We have all the time. Just 1 second. Right?
sure.
I will record the questions. Hare Krishna. Yeah, please go ahead and ask your question.
All right. When we were reading the entire, the qualities that a devotee needs to have, we says that no entanglement with wife or children or
No?
family.
Sorry. No. Yeah. Okay.
No
sure.
entanglement. So it says you should practice it if you can do it in Krishna conscious way, but renounce if unfavorable for Krishna conscious. What do we mean by renounce if it is unfavorable?
Okay. So very tricky. So what they're telling is a situation, right, where you can't practice Krishna conscious at all. So this is an extreme state. Practically speaking, what there is, if you've tried every means. So anyone, non-devotee association, right? You have to understand clearly 2 things here. Non-devotee association means going with people who are atheistic and trying to explain at an initial stage is not required. And Krishna will bring this, he will answer your query subsequently. He will tell that even to preach Bhagavad Gita, don't do to an atheist. It is not worth at all, is what he is going to mention. But what is he trying to tell us? If you are going to focus on the non-devotees, because you are itself at the initial stage, you will come down. Now, if you are in a family, he is not telling you renounce a family and run away. No, that's not what he means. What he is trying to tell you is, if this particular family environment is not, don't force them. You anyway do indirectly by giving prasad, automatically that will come, right? We already read, we are getting. But if a situation comes that they are show stopping and telling you no bhakti at all, at a very extreme stage, it is even okay to give up on that part of it rather than to give up on bhakti part. That's what they are saying. If a situation comes that you have to make a choice, whether it's bhakti or anything else, then bhakti should be done. Ideally, many times they ask, right, which should be prioritized? Should be, so it's not about priority, right? So if I ask you, what should you prioritize, should you prioritize on, drinking water, or should you prioritize on eating food? What will you tell? You tell temporarily I'll prioritize by drinking water, but then I need food, right? You can't tell this I can replace with another. Yes or no?
Yes.
So same way bhakti, and this is so inevitable. You can't replace one with another, right? So what they're telling is a worst case situation. You have to make a choice in your really worst case situation. Then bhakti should not be the choice to let go, because that's your eternal purpose. So that's what they're saying. Does not mean that you should give up your family, throw them, and you just fought. Very important. Krishna is telling Arjuna also, right? He's willing to do bhakti, he's running away. He says, don't be a predator. And every one of us, one part of our life, want to run away, right? Yes or no? Sometimes, school time, college time, office time, work time, with spouse, with in-laws, yes or no? I have felt, yes or no? Have you all?
Yes.
So that running away, we should not do. But if it is genuinely after so much, then, then it is still okay, is what he is trying to answer. I hope I have answered. Hare Krishna.
Yes, you have. Thank you. One more question. I do understand, but so we keep using the word unmanifested.
Yes.
Yes, I think I understand the meaning, but if you can just elaborate a little bit on it, I might get it more clearer.
So unmanifested will be used many times in various contexts. Unmanifested in simple English means what is not manifested, what is not seeable, right? So you have to tell me the context, because if you're telling unmanifested modes of nature, for example, means the modes of nature, let's take us, right? Inside you and me, the 3 modes are there. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. You may sit here and argue, and I may sit here and argue telling, no Mataji, in me, only mode of goodness is there. Agreed. Maybe the manifested is mode of goodness, right? But the unmanifested is other 2. They're sleeping. You can't tell it is not there at all. Okay, this is a fact. It's in Shastra. So all 3 are there. That is why Krishna is telling, raise above the 3 modes, right? Go above that, right? But these are unmanifested. Now, any time this will get manifested. Even if you take a small quality, I'll take an animal, you'll understand. Let's say a lion, right? A lion is said to be in the mode of passion. Can even breed a lion in the house and they'll be very friendly. That means, are you telling me that the lion is not capable of killing the owner? Can you tell the lion has lost its capacity and it's moved out of the passion and it's gone into mode of goodness? It is in mode of goodness. It is in mode of goodness because you have tamed it so well and perfect. It's so well bred. You are, it's sharing love. But the original blood of mode of passion is there. Anytime it wants, it can attack anyone, right? It may not attack the owner, but someone tries to kill the owner, finish, right? Or it cannot. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so unmanifested is something which is
there.
It is
Not
there,
there.
but may not be very visible at this time.
Yes.
So it can be used in different contexts in different ways, right? Okay, so now when we talk about the mode of nature, we know one of the mode will be very, very visible at one particular time of our life. You know, it may keep on changing. You know, I may be good
Yes.
one time and I may be ignorant in the other. Okay, so when body takes when soul goes to another body, you know, it is decided based on your past karmas. But does the nature follow you, or you start fresh from the next body and mode of nature? I mean, I might be a lion, so my mode of nature is mostly, you know, passion or ignorance. So will that be continued because I will get a birth based on my this life's karma, or will it be, you know, I have an opportunity to start fresh?
Okay. So I will explain in two parts. Okay. Now, if you take yourself as a lion, then I have to keep you out of this, because this all this karma applies only from human being, not from right. So that's why I'm telling, I'm splitting into two parts. The animals go by the natural level of progression, right? I don't law of evolution. So that we will keep it away. So if you are an animal in the previous life, there is a possibility someone can, the lion would have killed 100 people and it does not incur a sin and does not become a snake, right? It can have a human form. So animal, we will keep it aside. So we take human beings because karma, law of karma and nature applies to human being. I just relate better, right? And in the human life, what happens, right? In the human life, there are only two concepts which are largely dominating. What are the two concepts which are dominating? There are, I am currently doing my karma, right? Now I do, what happens? I do good karma, right? That is pious activities, I go to Swarga. I do bad karma, I go to Naraka, which is Vikarma, right? So this much we are clear. Now let's assume after both the credits are gone, I come back to the earth, right? Now when I come back to the earth, my body will not be starting from zero. For the bad karma, it's like punishment, right? It's like going to the jail. You go to the jail, we all go to jail because we've done a crime, we come out. Does it mean that when you come out of the jail, somebody is going to give you a platter with so much of gold coins, one house, and whatever, you know, etc., really, because you've already experienced and you deserve a great life? Yes or no?
Yes, definitely.
Do you have it? Do you have a great life? No. You have to start from wherever, whatever is left for you, right?
Right.
So same way is for the life, right? So you are not, what you are seeing right now, I understand. You're seeing that every time you're born, you're a fresh person. Your body is fresh, but you're not fresh. Your soul is a continuation, right?
Right, but I am talking about the modes of nature. I mean, if one nature dominates this life, will it also dominate my next life or not? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I'm answering that. I'm just coming to that. So what happens is this particular mode is dominating your life here, right? And in fact, forget about next life. I will answer again this in two parts. Let's assume that the mode of passion is dominating now. And your doubt is, next time when I'm born, will the mode of passion dominate? Simple logic. If you are in mode of goodness and you continue and break itself into mode above mode of goodness, when you're born next time, right? You may not even be born. You will go to yoga. Now, assuming that you're born because you've halfway through you've left, you will possibly continue from that plus point wherever you have. You've left 20% of your devotional service, you will start from 21%. So mode of goodness continues. Now, if you're in mode of passion, you may be better or you may fall down. Either things can happen. You may go to mode of goodness, which means that you are born this time in mode of passion, but you are heading towards mode of goodness, which means next life you will possibly be born in mode of passion or goodness. You are going into higher planetary system, right? I told you pious activity. Then you're shifted from, so which means that if you are in mode of a particular mode, if you continue in the mode, then your next life could differ or be same. But if you are elevating, for example, I will take a simple logic. If you are in the mode of ignorance, absolutely, and you put lot of efforts to go to mode of passion, and then lot of efforts to go to mode of goodness, your next birth will not be ignorance. It will not see the birth. It will see by your activity. You understand? Because today we are all born in various modes, but our behavior is classically different. One more thing. Hiranyakashipu Prahalad. Prahalad was born with mode of goodness, but which family was he born? He was born among the Rakshasas, right? So does it mean that another Janma also he will be born among Rakshasas? No, right? Because he got eliminated. See, he went into the material, again, went out of the material world. But the fact is, assuming that even if somebody is falling down and again comes back, he will be in a different mode. Because the mode which you are born and the mode which you will be born next life depends on how you take the mode to the next level. That is what I wanted to explain. I hope I clarified.
Yes, to an extent, it's something which is really, complicated when you try to understand the soul and soul's rebirth. So there's not, we are not the knower yet. So
but these are very heavy concepts. In one line, what I'm telling you is the mode which you are in need not mode which you have to be throughout our present life. Forget about next life. Even your present life, you don't have to stick to the modes because we are already born in a different mode, depending on our previous karma. But we don't have to sustain in the mode. For example, all of you in this group are currently in the mode of goodness, right? Because you're listening to Bhagavad Gita, very clearly you're in the mode of goodness. But some can sustain this mode, right? They've come on the track, but some can sustain. They will continue, they will do japa, and they will sustain. Not everybody will. So somebody may continue, somebody may fall down, and somebody may move out also, right? So there are categories of these people. So when these three people are born again, even assuming that all three of us are in the mode of ignorance, but next Janma, when we are born, we will be born in different modes because that time our requirements are different. That is why. I hope I'm trying to answer. Hare Krishna. I'm sorry.
Yes, Mataji, you have. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. It
Hare
is
Krishna.
so we are so lucky to be born as human beings, and it is such a wonderful opportunity given to us. We should never lose this opportunity.
Absolutely. You will nail right there. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. It was a very beautiful.
Radhika Mataji, that means you mean to say that last phase, whatever in mode we are, we will be next Janma, we will be born in that same mode?
No. That's what she asked. So the mode which you are in this Janma and the mode which you are in next Janma is not the same. It's the mode which you want to close. That's what I'm saying. Your mode,
At the time of closure, whatever mode we are, will we be born in the same mode?
Because that is what you want. See, at the time of thing, Krishna is really telling at the time of death, you think of me.
Yes. Exactly.
Then you will come to me. That is the qualification, right?
Yeah.
You saw,
yeah,
right? Krishna is telling this. So I'm not telling Veda. Krishna is telling that, Antakal, right? So at that final situation, if you think of me, you will come to me. So if you think at the time of death, you will of Krishna, so you will go there. So you're not even here. So even assuming that you're born of ignorance and we are born, we'll be there, right? You can't go to the spiritual world. Hey, this person is born out of ignorance. How is he there? No, that can't help, right? Because he's thought of Krishna. Now on the other side, right? If somebody is born, let's say on a mode of passion, because passion, why am I telling, is a very dangerous thing. You can either go up or you can fall down. Any level you can have that, but mode of passion is exactly like the, it's like the junction, right? You have temptations. Your senses catches, the temptation is very high. But for a mode of goodness, they will make sure that the sense does not even see the alcohol mode. They will ensure. But mode of passion will be like, no, I should not drink alcohol, and he will drink tender coconut, but his eyes will be, in alcohol. Mind is constantly fighting. At the time of death, suppose he thinks like what I told you, the first story. I want to be princess. I want only 2 cars I have. I need 4 cars, and you have a lot of credits. Then you're fine. Next time, you may be born with enough credits. Krishna will grant you 4 cars in a house, luxurious house, because you have enough credits to enjoy them, right? And again, mode of passion, right? That's what I want.
Exactly.
Just an example.
Okay. Mataji, what is the duty of body and what is the duty of soul?
Very beautiful. So we have 2 duties, right? Swadharma is 2 duties. One is the duty of the body, another one is the duty of the soul. One is duty of body is we take care of ourselves, we take care of our family, children, husband, right? This is the duty of the family. Giving Krishna conscious to the children is also a very important duty, right? So this is one. Duty of the soul is to give Krishna to ourselves. We have to do japa. Okay. We try and see. Okay. We use this word in English, right? I need time for myself. Myself, the self actually means soul, right? So soul. You're chanting. All this is the duty you're doing to the soul. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay.
And you have to do both parallel. That is what Krishna is saying.
Yeah. So serving the family, that is the duty of the body, and serving Krishna is the duty of the soul. Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Beautifully.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, tomorrow can we chant before the class slokas?
Yes, please go ahead. You can chant. You can, anyone knows
Chapter
also
14.
you can chant. Tomorrow onwards, I'll open as usual.
Yeah,
9.
Jai Shri Mataji and myself, we both will chant alternatively.
No problem. Chant Kirtans also. They'll enjoy more.
Okay, okay. So tomorrow 14 chapter, we both will recite then.
Then, yeah, no problem. Then 9 o'clock, you all come and recite. And you can,
Okay,
after the chant, slokas.
okay.
Today,
Thank you,
Sulochana
Mataji.
Mataji, Hare Krishna. Today, Sulochana
Hare Krishna.
Mataji did that Ashtakam so beautifully.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
Just 1 second. Hello.
Ha, hello.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then we'll end this session. Is that fine?
Thank you, Radhika.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees, and we'll meet again tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.